Welcome to the Robcast. This is a show about Oakville, the people that work, live, and do business here. Really excited about it today. We get to flip the cameras on the producer of the Robcast. This is Kyle Hosick. He is the owner-operator of Agency1. You are not going to want to miss this.
It's the Robcast Podcast. He's with you for the next hour or 20 minutes. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. Here he is. It's Rob Raham.
Welcome to the show here, Kyle.
Hey,
how's it feel to be on the other side of the cameras for once?
It's not bad. It's rare I get to do it, but I don't mind it.
It's nice to see you on this side. So you've changed my business over the last 3 years. I know what a lot of people may not know is you've kind of taken this boutique agency and flown under the radar and built it into one of the most successful case studies here of marketing in Oakville. So I think for all of us, can you take us through how you even got to this point?
I sure can. So creativity is my jam. And I've been, since I was a kid, high school, I had a band. We recorded a tape when I was in grade 11.
Name of the band?
Bodies,
okay.
You know, in grade 11, we sold 1,000 cassettes.
That's big back then.
And that was me carrying around a box, hawking them like dime bags.
Yeah, out of the trunk of the car, like they say.
I had no car. So, like, that was my creative outlet. Then, my first job, I was working for a legend in Oakville. Her name's Leslie Bell. She ran a major event design company. So, out of university, I was driving a truck for her company. Within 2 years, I worked my way into the office there. And my job was to, you've been to events. Some of them are over the top. We did the over the top ones.
Okay.
So I was writing. I was a creative writer. And my job was to explain the experience.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, there's no AI. You can't generate a photo. If it's a unique idea, it was all written word to get somebody.
That came naturally to you? You could just take the event and...
I loved it.
Okay.
Like, I loved just going. And some of them were wacky. Like, we did Prince at the Government, his stage set.
Wow.
We did Pavarotti and the Three Tenors at Skydome when they were here.
Incredible.
You know, and I was 24. So, you know, being creative in that sense, you know, I was there for working in the office until 2001. Do you remember LimeWire?
I do.
So LimeWire hits the internet, and I spent my lunch. Nothing prompted me to do this, but I spent my lunch downloading Adobe software illegally.
Okay.
I pay for all of it now, and I have for 20 years.
Right.
But at that time,
LimeWire was a game changer.
it was a game changer. Everyone was downloading songs. I downloaded Photoshop, Illustrator, and Macromedia's complete web design suite.
Interesting.
And I'd sit there eating my sandwich, doing the built-in tutorials.
Right.
I went to my boss.
So you're saying it was self-learned?
I taught anything I do now. I taught myself.
Okay.
No formal training.
Right.
Photography, videography. You know, what to buy gadget-wise. That's all just learning.
Was there like
as
a
I
breaking
go.
point through this where you kind of thought, man, I'm all in on this.
Oh,
and
totally.
you said, now it's my time to kind of take off?
Well, I first went to Leslie and said, let's partner on a company called
Okay.
Adrenaline. So ad like advertising, ad like plus,
Yeah.
bring us in.
But you've had that company, like that was almost where I came in here with you. It was still
that's right.
Adrenaline,
That's right.
Yeah.
It was. And she kind of got cold feet. She's an event design business that's doing $10 million a year at that time.
Sure.
Like, why fool around? I had already started telling people I could do their website. So I had 2 clients lined up, ready to go, and didn't want to let them down. So I packed my car and drove home. I was living on Pine Avenue in Oakville, renting a house there at that time.
Familiar street.
It's if only I lived there today.
Yeah, right.
And I bought a Dell in the first hour I got
Online?
home.
I got the whole online?
You're getting a Dell.
Yeah, sweet.
That was me, and I had to wait for it to come.
Yep. Took a little longer back then. It wasn't like you were in your 24-hour turnaround.
Yeah, I was playing a lot of Xbox
Yeah.
that week. And that was the start of it. I was working out of my kitchen. I did a website for the National Trade Center, which is now Beanfield Place, I think, at the CNE
At the
grounds.
CNE, yeah. Exhibition,
I had a big Rolodex of event people. I had become the president of the International Special Events Society in Toronto.
Okay.
ISIS. So they've since rebranded.
I hope so.
So yeah, I had contacts and was quickly able to. Web design in 2002 was still not a lot of companies
Just
had a
breaking
website.
in, right? It wasn't
A lot of them had email, but we were even at the event design company. We're still faxing contracts and stuff.
right.
So fortunately, I was good to go right away. Like I was making more in the first 2 weeks of being at my kitchen table than I was at my job.
Incredible.
And since then, I've done a lot of different. I've always maintained adrenaline. We opened a year later. I opened an office on Spears Road in Oakville. We were at 1200 Spears. You open a brick and mortar location, and it's like you're looking out the front door, like, when are all the people coming?
That's right.
And we didn't get jack shit from Spears Road.
Of course
or
not.
Anything in the area.
It's so much more industrial than it is, retail or.
There are tons of companies there, and if I was smart, I probably would have gone and banged on some doors. But we were busy enough.
The only benefit truly is the lower rent on Spears, at least.
That's right. I think we were paying $1,200.
Right. And for a startup, that was a.
Yeah, it was big money when you're 24, 25.
Yeah.
But in 1,200, you can't go anywhere and do that.
So as an entrepreneur in your industry, obviously that industry, the technology is a main driver for it. So you started with websites, then social media came in and kind of changed everything. Like along your way, what were the major points where you said, holy smokes, there's an opportunity and a big need that I can fill in?
There's been a few. The first one I will say was search engine optimization. That was huge.
So this is Google coming out and,
you got it. So when we were on Spears Road, we were the #1 ranked web design company on Google, probably Oakville, Burlington.
So this is helping people rise to the top, get them clicks, because businesses started to figure out quick, man, we need to be at the top. We need to be found.
That's right. And everyone was getting a website, but no one knew why or where.
It's like a lot of people just thought you had to have it, but they didn't utilize it to do anything. It was just there, stagnant.
And so we quickly realized it matters where you rank. We're here now and we need to be here. And it's, again, back to books. What do we do?
Yep.
Because Google did not publicize at that time the
roadmap or how they did it. Yeah.
You got it.
No.
There was none of that.
I don't even know if they knew it.
It was asking other people. It was
learning about the spiders and all that.
Yeah, web crawling, the whole bit. When did they update? We make a change on the site. Then we'd check 2 days later, still nothing. But then
so you're in the real
later,
nitty gritty of almost web design and seeing
trial and error.
Yeah.
And then we became experts at that, which helped our rank. It carried the SEO alone carried my business for 12 years.
I'm sure you had some huge successes. I mean, even the handyman, the plumber, the electrician, that's their whole bread and butter. It still is to today.
So in 2000 and I want to say 8, maybe, Chris Bosch hired us to develop his personal brand, his website.
The basketball player.
Raptor, Toronto Raptor. He
Raptor.
was one of the first people to realize the power of a personal brand in basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Michael Jordan, obviously he had one, but that was given to him by Nike.
Yeah.
Chris Bosch started his by turning to Google and finding a web designer, and he found us.
Wow.
So that was a marquee project.
How have I never heard this story?
I know. Well, we don't talk a lot.
I guess not. We're strictly business here, right?
So that was good. And you mentioned social media, but what came in from my recollection, YouTube hit before Facebook. And YouTube, it was kind of a gimmick. I remember being like, shit, there's AC/DC videos on here.
This is fun to use, but how do you utilize it?
And so that's when I bought my first SLR camera that could record in HD.
Okay.
HD.
Wow, high definition. Huge breakthrough.
Not even 1080p, probably 1080i.
Probably 720.
Yeah. And so I realized we were writing everybody's web content, and then the trend, it came around where you needed a video on your homepage.
Right, yeah.
So I produced one for us. That was the first video we did.
Yeah.
And then people come into our website. Video was just bought in parcel with their web design. It was super easy. I did not have to sell anyone on, hey, this will really add some value. They just bought it.
It's funny you mentioned this, and I'm going back to these times. I remember certain companies coming into the real estate offices going, testimonials. People want to hear the truth from clients. And you had this stagnant video of this random couple talking about it. And I don't know if that was the answer or not, but that's that timing when the video became, you've got to have it.
That's right. And, all the technology, the cameras, the lenses, the pieces all became consumer friendly. You no longer needed to own a, William F. White and rent all your gear.
Right.
You could go to Best Buy and buy something that would get you a good product.
Right.
That being said, if you don't have the creativity and the wherewithal to say what's going to make this interesting, anyone can make a video.
Right.
Especially now.
Yeah. And it's not, a lot of it's not good.
It's not good.
The majority of it's not good.
And there's there's terabytes and terabytes of crap out there. But a lot of people still do, they do it really well. And the budget runs the gamut. Like, people are still paying for TV commercials that are $150,000 to produce.
Right.
But, we've done some TV work that's like an eighth of that.
So I know a lot of people may not realize this, and recognizing that you've helped me and all these other, but you manage major corporations. You want to talk about some of those and Canadian Cancer Society and other, to name a few.
So
right?
It's Breast Cancer Canada.
Sorry,
I work with. They hired us to do their website initially, and since then I like to get to know my clients, their personalities, their pain points. That's why we've been successful.
Yeah.
And I really got to know their mission and how they were trying to raise money. And they approached me. There's a big breast cancer only conference in San Antonio in December every year, and they brought me down there. And we did live hits from the floor, interviewing researchers, pharma people. And I'll tell you, even today, there's no one else rolling around with a camera crew at these trade shows.
Is that right?
So that's San Antonio. They brought me to ASCO, which is an oncology convention that happens in Chicago every year.
Are these kind of
twice.
like 4-day things? You're going down, you're bringing
They're
all
massive.
the gear, they're shipping you down?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. All the gear is there. And it's made them the authority in their space because they're taking, I won't say they're taking up the air, but they are. There's only so much, us sitting here, there's a fixed amount of air in the room.
That's right.
And if I start yelling for 10 minutes, everyone's going to look at me.
Yep.
Not
the
you.
loudest one's usually heard, right? Yeah.
So the more, this comes down to content creation and the volume of content you're creating. And we're doing tons of it.
Tell me about some of the other Oakville-based companies that you've helped out. I know there's a number of them. You're born and raised here. Your business is here. So I know that you've kind of focused here as well.
So there's been tons through the years.
I know you don't want to leave anybody out, but
that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of work with Oakville Academy for the Arts now. Their YouTube commercials and, have helped them market in different ways. We just finished a big video and web design project for Continental Mirror and Glass on Spears. We're starting to work with Butler and Lowe, their builders, also on Spears. But we, every time, I can't drive by a commercial or industrial area without being like, oh yeah, I
used to help them. I had to manage them. Yeah.
And Oakville's a small town.
For sure.
Which is part of the goal of this podcast, obviously, is calling attention to the people who do things well in Oakville, no matter what their business is. And
I think part of it is looking at this. I know a lot of people watching out there is some of the challenges that they face, some of the success stories. I want other people to know out here, people like yourself, and they can learn from these and your experiences to get something going for themselves, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you were to that kind of segues into, as you've gone along, and I know there's so much more to the story, but are there some points where you kind of hit a wall and you thought, man, or are there challenges that you faced? I remember you said kind of the bricks and mortar approach was a challenge for you.
Yeah. So after Spears Road, I moved back. I took the business back into my house. Mm-hmm. I had 3 employees at that time. We all just worked from home. There was no Zoom. We didn't need Zoom. You just talk on the phone.
Yep.
We'd meet, once a week kind of thing. But then I took my business downtown Toronto. I was asked, because of my event background, I was approached by Stanley Schenkman. I think at the time he was like 85 years old.
Is this the magazine? No.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So he owned the International Center outright.
Okay.
Sole shareholder, lots of money. And he wanted to bring a magazine from New York called BizBash to Canada. So he bought the Canadian rights to it, and he brought me on as his partner. And I ran Adrenaline this whole time, kind of quietly behind, but BizBash sort of reasserted my event design background. I was writing for the magazine. I was going to events and covering them. We did a massive trade show every year for 3 years that I was the MC for. Maestro Fresh West is on stage performing.
Yeah.
Ed Mervish was there as a speaker. Moses Znaimer was a speaker.
A couple name drops here, right? Yeah.
I thought, I was like, I don't know. Can you take 2 rocket ships to the moon? Like, should I give up Adrenaline and just do BizBash? And then we decided to sell BizBash back to New York because they had opened in Chicago, Florida, and David Adler, the founder of BizBash, I think was like, okay, let's take this back.
Okay.
So the timing was good.
So you grew it.
Yeah. Sold it back. And we had an office in Toronto that Adrenaline shared with BizBash. I was there. Adrenaline operated in Toronto suddenly.
Yeah.
So I did leave Oakville for a while, but I missed it. Oakville, on our website, it says Toronto, Oakville, Hamilton. But I'm an Oakville guy. Like, I spend most of my time in Oakville. We've opened the studio here in Oakville. So I have a bunch of Toronto clients. We do a lot of work for BMO. We've started working for Menasha Packaging. And I love those clients. I love them. But Oakville is where it's at.
Yeah. I just heard a story, and I don't know if it's true or not, but something maybe people don't know about you. Were you on actually making on a Dragon's Den?
I applied to be on Dragon's Den. Through the BizBash experience. BizBash is basically like, I'll say Menu Palace. If you remember Menu Palace. Yeah, I do, yes. BizBash was that for events. So if you needed a wedding florist or a photographer, or you needed a
table
DJ
linens,
you got it.
Yeah.
That was BizBash.
Right.
But we covered events. And so in the coverage, we would link to our listings.
Yeah.
And people would pay for those listings. And so the first property I started as a copycat, I'll say, I had a company called Life Sites Group, and we operated babyontheway.ca. All baby stuff.
Okay.
Sold tons of ads on that, and eventually... So you
kind of coattailed off the same idea. You wanted the one-stop shop. Yeah.
And I was like, no one's doing this for babies. My son was about to be born. We're both...
So you're buried in it, looking for everything.
It was trash.
Yeah.
Absolute.
It all just leads to Babies R Us. It was not like, and there's all these unique companies out there you can't find.
And actual medical data and articles about proper parenting. Like, there was Today's Parent, which was a Rogers thing, and, littered with Rogers related advertising.
Sure.
But some of the stuff was all out of the States. So anyhow, Baby on the Way is a thing. I had met with Torstar Digital. They were going big on like car pages and wheels, and they were buying up these directories.
Okay, yeah.
So lucky enough to sell Life Sites Group at that time. And then I found, we're getting back to Dragon's Den here. I, as a video producer, was always struggling to find talent that didn't look like an actor. So myself and a couple partners, created a website called everydayactors.com. Anyone could sign up there. It was $5 a month was your subscription fee. If I was joining, I'm a male, I'm 40s, I'm Caucasian. My style is, who knows, eclectic.
Eclectic. That's the first word that came to my mind.
Anyway, but and then the video producers or ad agencies or whoever could navigate, say, I need a man,
click off and search what
I
they
need a 25-year-old, I want him to wear glasses, and I want him to be South Asian.
Got it.
And then that opens a communication portal. You negotiate your price. We weren't taking any cut of the actual work. The subscription fee for the actors,
$5 a month.
$5 a month is nothing.
Yeah.
And the ad agencies and the video producers, they paid nothing.
Got it.
Free to them to use.
So how did that come to the show? Did you need money for it? Were you just kind of like, this is an opportunity?
Truthfully, we wanted the exposure. I didn't need the money.
Yeah. How'd that exposure work out?
Well, you framed this question like, how come it's a little known fact? Well, it's a little known fact because they didn't air the episode.
And why do you think that is? I hear it was like a world record.
I'll give you 2 reasons.
Okay.
We weren't selling a product. We were kind of selling hope at $5 a month. So had we aired on Dragon's Den and had 100,000 people sign up for the site that night, I don't think CBC probably wanted to see us make that much money that quickly. Which sounds odd, I know, but here's the other reason. We're also kind of skirting ACTRA.
That's what I was going to say, yeah,
and
the
CBC,
union, right?
Someone there would have gone, hey, wait a minute. Unless this is all
we promoting?
We're about to get absolutely keel-hauled by our union if we put this guy on TV.
Yeah. But you did get a deal.
I did. And so this is the other problem that I could be, reason C the episode never made it to air is the deal happened way too fast. I walked in. I do a lot of running around Oakville, and that's my me time. I practice my pitch for 40 days. I would do it on my run.
Yeah.
And I knew every word of it.
So you just walked in there and it was
I walked in there and bam, bam, bam. I knew exactly what I was doing. I brought extras.
Knew the questions that were going to come.
Sort of, yeah. So you've seen Dragon's Den. There's a big pitch at the beginning, and then the questions are kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
But we didn't even get to the questions. So Michael Weckerly, who's a stock trader, lots of money, he's recently opened the Elma Combo. He basically said, you're here for $50K for 10%. I'll give it to you right now. He was the guy I thought I would align best with.
Yeah.
If I were to get a deal. And I just said, yeah, let's do it. He stood up, shook my hand. We hugged it out. And regrettably, I just think it doesn't make for good TV when it goes so quickly and smoothly.
Yeah,
I needed
people
to be
want
like,
the emotion, the up
I needed
and down.
to pretend
like,
I was torn. I better go call my friend and ask their opinion and really drag this out.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that, and I should have. But, the ACTRA thing is probably the reason.
I would think so.
I want to revive that too. I
think there's something there, especially with all that's going on right now. It's a bigger challenge.
Everyone thinks they're a star, and what better way to...
Yeah, but there's no real soul place for everyone to go, right?
So you're welcome for the idea. God damn it, why did I make that public?
Let me pull this back to one thing here. If what do you think... I know what makes you separate from everyone else because of us working together for so long. But a company calls, let's say a restaurant company calls, and they want you to come in. They've seen these podcasts, they've seen your work, or the search optimization is working, and you go in. What's kind of the process of you meeting a new client? Because I know it's just as important for you to be interviewing them as they are interviewing you, right?
That's true. Yeah, I do a lot of research before I meet anybody.
Okay.
So I think that's important for any business owner out there.
To your Facebook, you're looking online, you're
everywhere. I want to know about the owner. I want to know if there's a board of directors.
You see what the material they're putting out there right now.
I want to know who they're working with now. Exactly. What are they doing? What are pain points that I can identify before I talk to them, and then take to the meeting and go, I bet you're thinking this, aren't you?
Yeah.
And they appreciate that right off the hop. And the important thing is to, just be yourself. Like, that has worked wonders for me to just not try to change my pitch too much and go in and say, here's the experience I have. Here's what I can bring to the table. Here's potentially what other clients of mine would say they like working with me, the reason they like working with me. And then I kind of leave it at that. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where if it doesn't go ahead, it doesn't go ahead.
I think everything happens for a reason. I think one of the things that was different for me, and I'm sure you come across this in businesses, is we get like these blinders on and we're trucking through what we think is real estate and the way we should market it. And there's so much noise about what you should and shouldn't be doing. When I met you, I kind of had ideas. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm doing all these videos. I've got something going here, but I needed the search optimization. I need your help with the YouTube. But the biggest difference is, again, you came in with just ideas that were like, well, what if you tried this? And it was like, oh, it like hurt to be like, wait, what? But that is how I've gotten the new response. The Ramazon commercials, these were outside the box thoughts that now get me recognition in Oakville, and it's working. So I don't know where I'm going with that question.
Well, I'll tell. Like, I think I get. I think I get where you're going, and it comes back to creativity. That I said, like, I feel always wanted to set myself apart. Whether
What it was,
with
yes. Yeah.
marketing myself, or if that training in the event design business where you're just typing a story and you know you're competing with 2 other companies.
Yeah.
How can I tell this story? Or even designing the event. Like I did YTV's Halloween party one year.
Okay.
If you
Random,
remember,
but
they
yeah,
had,
I remember back in the day.
Back in the day, it was like slime
Yeah,
and like all of
Nickelodeon
that
was
stuff.
in there, yeah.
And it wasn't enough to be like, we're going to have some monsters and it's going to be scary. It really had to be different. And so I came up with Dr. Wackenstein's laboratory.
Yo, you came up with that? I
Yeah,
remember that.
yes. And so that theme served 2 purposes. I got to clear everything out of the warehouse that we could sell because I just made it crazy.
Yeah, just loaded it up.
It was a big budget affair, but it suited their theme.
Yeah.
And I didn't say, oh, it's going to be Frankenstein or they're going to be mummies. It was
Dr.
totally,
Wackenstein.
it was about medical experiments.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
that's what floats my boat. The challenge of coming up with something that's going to be different for you. I love that. I can't do that with Breast Cancer Canada.
I was going to ask you, you have to be careful with the client and what their
course,
needs are.
of
But
course.
do you come in sometimes with and I guess there's got to be a point where you hold back the creative and make sure that this is the right thing.
Yeah.
But then do you find sometimes that people go, I don't think this is for us. And you kind of go, okay.
I have typically done a good job at knowing before I pitch something how it's going to land. So
If you're going into corporate, you're not coming in with the wacky,
But I have sort of turned things on their head from I come in and they're like, oh, it's the video guy.
Yeah.
But because of my event background, I've been like, oh, okay, no, don't do this town hall in a banquet room at a hotel. Let's do it in your warehouse. I'll buy a PA system. I'll buy a projector. We'll do a 2-camera feed into Teams. And I'm making an experience out of what they were kind of like, hey, we hired you just to run the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that
wasn't there a corporate one where you're in the boardroom and you took the same guy and made him answer and response and different.
That's right. Yeah.
So a very stagnant situation, typical boardroom executives.
You got it.
What was your idea there?
So Paul Varian is his name. He's ex-CEO of Oakville Soccer.
Okay.
He's in the consulting space now, and he helps amateur sport organizations through the challenges they face in their board of directors. So we did a board
And there are
meet.
challengers.
There are. So he approached me to do a video training series. This is in the middle of COVID. So he's normally traveling all over, meeting in person with these people, delivering training on raising sponsorship money, how to manage.
This can be dry sometimes. Like it's typical training
totally
video,
dry.
right?
So I'm going to credit him with meeting halfway on this concept of staging a board meeting, but he actually he came up with characters.
So he played all the different.
He's from a soccer board. He knows the type of personalities that make up a board. So he had characters in mind. We hired a makeup artist. One of his characters we had in a bald cap.
But he played
every character at a board meeting.
Amazing.
We moved the camera. We wrote the script so that it would flow and he could read it in each costume for his parts. He didn't have to change and then change back. And it's super cool.
Yeah. That's changed the whole approach to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he sells a subscription now to his training that's taken off for him.
Yeah. Another success story. I think this kind of brings us to the time of the Robcast Rapid Ask. Are you ready for this one?
I am. I have experience with
these
I know.
Questions. You've got a bit of a heads up on this. I want to throw a couple of, curveballs at you, but
nice.
I'll try and stick to one of the classic one is you're on death row. You've got one last meal. What's that meal looking like?
I know what it would be. It's you remember the old Omega restaurant at Curran Spears?
I do, yeah, the old steakhouse.
Dropping a little Oakville
a little
there.
history. They'd make the Caesar salad right in front of you. It was the best Caesar salad.
So, and they also did a pepper steak there that they would bring the brandy out and the whole
Light
thing
it all up.
happen at
Yeah,
the table.
big peppercorns in it.
Have your eyebrows burned off on your birthday.
I wonder if there's a reason why that closed down. I don't know.
I have my ideas.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so the Keg does a New York peppercorn. I have eaten that there every time I've been to the Keg ever in my life.
Okay.
I've never had another dish there, probably 40 times.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Roast beef, prime rib guy here.
You're prime rib guy. I'm going
classic.
medium well pepper steak. I know
Okay.
I'm probably pissing a lot of people off. Overcooking your meat.
Yeah. It's not well
like
done.
it
I mean,
cooked.
yeah.
I want it cooked.
Okay. You know, it's a nice day. You've had a successful day. You get in the car, and this is going to be a tough question for you, but I have an idea where you're going to go with it. What band or what music are you putting in the car?
I'm an AC/DC
Yeah.
guy. Like I don't.
Is there a
they don't
song
fuck
that
around.
comes
I
out?
don't fuck around.
No. Is there a
What?
song that you go, this is the one, or is it all across the board? Doesn't matter.
I have my favorites. Like Back in Black's the best album ever recorded.
Yes.
And it. You know what? That's not just me saying that. Like it's second in sales globally behind only Thriller.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It is.
Yeah, wow.
And that's my album. That's.
Is that Thunderstruck and everything?
No.
Okay,
Back
so
in Black is 1980. Bon Scott just died. 2 months later, they had a new singer, and that's the album they put out.
Interesting. Okay. I'm learning here today.
You are.
Yeah.
I'm pissed you didn't know that.
If you had an opportunity to travel anywhere in the world, take the family, where are you going? Is there something on your list right now?
I'd love to go to Australia, piggybacking on my last answer there. I love the Bahamas.
The Outback or the piggyback?
AC/DC are from
Oh,
Australia.
God. I'm
Jesus.
blowing this.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Here, I'm the music historian here. I have a degree in sound engineering and music history, so here we go. I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Bahamas, where Back in Black was recorded. You see
Okay.
how I'm tying all
Yeah,
this
this
together?
is all. It's all a little bit too cute to me.
Wait till your next question.
So we'll bring it to the last question here. So, is there someone that you know on this planet, dead or alive, that you would love to sit down for a dinner? And if you pull this back to AC/DC again, but I'm gonna go ahead. Who's that person?
I'm going to go for the record, and I somehow should have worked in AC/DC and the pepper steak. I didn't do that very well, but it's Angus Young. Like I've had the privilege of having lunch with him in Buffalo in 1996.
You've been all over the place to see AC/DC.
Oh, I have. Yeah,
How many concerts in total have you seen?
Probably 40.
Yeah, unreal.
45.
Yeah.
I've been, SARS. I was just in Palm Springs last October for Power Trip, their first show in like 8 years.
Yeah.
The reason I say Angus, hey, you've already had lunch with him. He's just such a legend, and he doesn't act like it.
Right, down to earth.
I was 20 years old. I just turned 20. I found him at a restaurant in Buffalo. They were playing that night at the old Buffalo Odd, and he sat with me for an hour and a half. He didn't have a single security detail with him.
Yeah.
And his security, he has a personal bodyguard. He
Yeah.
came down and was like, hey, do you need out of this situation? He did not. He stayed. And to tie this back to Oakville, the Atlanta 96 Olympics were in the throes of them, but Donovan Bailey had won the 100-meter the
Epic.
day before.
Yeah.
And we were sitting at this bar looking up at the TVs, and the Olympics were on. And Angus asked me where I lived. And I, Canada, Toronto, but Oakville. It's Oakville. And he knew who Donovan Bailey was because their guy, the Brit, Linford Christie, was kicked out of the race, if you remember.
I do remember that.
He faulted.
He faulted.
And was booted.
I think he doubled, or was it just one? Anyways.
I can't remember.
He wasn't in the race, and
Angus
they
was
were
not very happy
no,
with that.
because he was the favorite.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he knew the race. He knew Donovan Bailey, and I was able to say, well, that's my hometown. Not that he could pinpoint it on a map.
Yeah.
But that was life-changing for me, and I would do it again, and I want to do. I have met him another time since at the Hyatt in Toronto. We talked for a few minutes, but I would love again to sit down. He's just something I just model.
Well, I have to
a
say,
lot
I was
that
going to say, if I know a guy like him, it's
Oh,
you.
well, thank you, Rob.
Right?
Thank
And I
you.
see you as a legend in my own right.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
I
I
appreciate you
appreciate it.
taking this time to come on to this show.
My pleasure,
And
man.
I hope everyone out there enjoyed it. Stay tuned for another episode of the Robcast.